Hello, friends, and welcome to another story traveling with Miss Gail. Today, I have two stories for you about, one of my favorite animals, bears. Are you ready? Let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a small house in the middle of a forest. Now, in that house, there lived a papa bear, a mama bear, and a baby bear. And they were waking up one morning, and Mama Bear decided to make porridge. Now, you may not know what porridge is, but maybe you know what oatmeal is. And it was very, very much like that. Mama Bear got up, she stirred and stirred and stirred, and then she poured out oatmeal into a great big bowl for Papa Bear, a medium-sized bowl for her, and a very small bowl for Baby Bear. Then they sat down to eat. They lifted their spoons, they took a big bite, but oh, it was too hot to eat. What are we going to do? I have an idea, said Mama Bear. I noticed that the blueberries were ready to be picked in the forest. Let's go pick some blueberries, and then we can have blueberries and porridge. And Papa Bear and Baby Bear agreed. That sounded like a really good idea. So Papa Bear got his hat, Mama Bear got her shawl and her basket, and Baby Bear just was Baby Bear. They went out the door and into the forest to look for those blueberries. Now, in this very same forest, not too far away, there was another house. And in that house, there lived a mother, a father, and a little girl with beautiful golden curls. In fact, her parents called her Goldilocks. And Goldilocks loved to walk in the woods. Her parents warned her that sometimes there were dangerous animals in the woods and to be very careful, and really she shouldn't go too far from home. But Goldilocks wanted an adventure that day. And after her breakfast, she went into the woods, deeper and deeper and deeper, looking for things she'd never seen before. When sure enough, she came upon a house she had never seen. What a cute little house. I wonder who lives there, she thought. And she went up and she knocked on the door. Knock, knock, knock. And she waited. Well, friends, maybe you could help. Can you raise your hand and let's knock again 3 times? Are you ready? Knock, knock, knock. And she waited again, but there was no answer. Now, you remember who lives in this house, right? That's right, the 3 bears. Well, Goldilocks, she smelled something delicious that was coming from inside the house. And so she did something you should never, ever do. She reached out and turned that doorknob. And it was unlocked, and the door swung open. Oh, boys and girls, should she go in the house? No, but Goldilocks forgot, and so she followed her nose into the house and into the kitchen. There on the table were 3 bowls of the most delicious looking porridge she had ever seen. Her stomach rumbled. Even though she'd eaten breakfast, she was hungry. She sat down at that biggest bowl. She took a big spoonful and, it was too hot. She went to the medium-sized bowl. She took a big spoonful and, it was too hot too. She went to the little bowl. She picked up the spoon. She took just a little bite. It was just right. And so Goldilocks ate that whole bowl of porridge up. Mmm, that was delicious, she thought. I wonder what else is in this house. And that little girl walked out of the kitchen into the living room where there were 3 chairs. She went running across the room and jumped into the biggest chair, but, oh, it was really hard and really big, and she didn't like it at all. She went over to a medium-sized chair, and she crawled up in it, but there were so many pillows. Oh, how could anybody be comfortable sitting in this chair? And then she saw a very small rocking chair. She went over and she sat down in that rocking chair, and she rocked back and forth, back and forth. And just like sometimes little girls and little boys will do, she began to rock faster. She rocked back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until she heard a crack, and the chair broke. Oh. Oh, she was getting sleepy. She went into the next room, and there she saw 3 beds. She went over to the biggest bed, but, she couldn't even climb on top of it. It was so tall. She went to the medium-sized bed, and she got up in it, and, whoop, oh, it was too soft. She was afraid she wouldn't get up out of that bed. And then she saw a very small bed with a very small pillow. She sat down on that bed. She lay down on that bed, put her head on that pillow, pulled the quilt up, and before you could say 1, 2, 3, she was asleep. Well, out in the forest, the bears had picked their blueberries, and they were on their way home. But when they got to their home, Papa Bear said, "Somebody has been here, for our front door is open." Papa Bear went in first, Mama Bear came next, Baby Bear followed behind. They went into the kitchen. Papa Bear said, "Somebody has been eating out of my bowl of porridge." Mama Bear said, "Somebody's been eating out of my bowl of porridge." Baby Bear said, "Somebody ate all my porridge up." 3 bears then went into the living room. Papa Bear said, "Somebody's been sitting in my chair. It's been moved." Mama Bear said, "Somebody's been sitting in my chair. All the pillows are thrown on the floor." Baby Bear said, "Somebody's sitting in my chair. It's all broken." Papa Bear was getting very angry. They went into the bedroom. Papa Bear said, "Somebody's been trying to get on my bed because the covers are pulled." Mama Bear said, "Somebody's been trying to get into my bed because I see handprints on the mattress." Baby Bear said, look, somebody is sleeping in my bed." And those 1, 2, 3 bears gathered around that little girl with those golden curls sleeping in that bed. Said Papa Bear. Said Mama Bear. "Hey, you," said Baby Bear. And Goldilocks opened her eyes. And when she saw those 3 bears looking at her, she was up and out of there in a flash. She ran home as fast as she could. When she got home, she was so upset she was crying. Her mother and dad said, "What has happened?" And Goldilocks told them the whole story, how she'd gone into the house, how she'd eaten the porridge, how she'd sat in the chairs and broke the chair and slept in the bed, and the bears had come home. And her mother and father were not happy with Goldilocks. "You have done things you should never have done," And together, Goldilocks and her mother and her father went back to the Three Bears' house. They knocked on the door. They had Goldilocks apologize. Mama had brought a basket full of honey bran muffins for them to share. And her father had brought his tools to fix the rocking chair. And would you believe it? Even though Goldilocks had done something she shouldn't, the Three Bears forgave her. And together, those two families, so different, actually became very good friends. And that is my version of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Now, that was a made-up story. But I have another story that has a little more truth to it. If you go up into the North Appalachian Mountains, you will find a wild apple orchard. And every fall, bears from all over will come to munch on an apple and scratch their backs on those trees. And this is the story of how that orchard became to be. Once there was a man. His name was Johnny Appleseed. And Johnny Appleseed was known to travel all over the countryside, planting apple seeds to grow orchards for the people to be able to eat. Well, one day as he was up into the North Appalachian Mountains, he had a bag full of apples. Today he was looking for a nice, quiet place just to he called it seeding day, where he would sit down, cut the apples open, take out the seeds, and put them in a special pouch. And then, as he went on his journey, he would find people, and there he would plant his apple seeds for them to have apple trees. He found a nice rock in a sunny place. With the trees and the wind, and the view was beautiful. And he sat right down and he started cutting that apple, pulling out the seeds, putting the apples to the side, putting those seeds in his pouch, and reaching in to get another apple out. When he heard a sound coming from the trees, it was kind of a low growl. He looked up, and what did he see but a black nose sticking out from amongst those trees? And pretty soon that black nose came out of those trees, and behind that black nose was a black bear. And that black bear came straight toward Johnny Appleseed. Well, what I didn't tell you was that this was early fall. This is a time when the bears are eating on anything and everything they can get to get ready for the winter. Johnny Appleseed had a thought that maybe that bear there was going to come and eat him. And he looked down at the apple. Are you hungry? And he tossed that apple to that bear, who chomp, chomp. So he cut another one, tossed that one. And that bear seemed to nod to Johnny Appleseed and then wandered back into the trees. I never, he thought. He still sat there and was cutting apples when again he heard not one but two growls. And he looked, and here came two bears. This one was a little smaller, so he called him, "Papa Bear, you went and got Mama Bear. Come on over here." And he threw both the bears some apples. And after a couple of apples, those bears seemed to kind of nod their head at him like thank you, and they went off. Well, would you believe it? It wasn't very much longer when he heard 3 growls. Here came that Papa Bear, here came that Mama Bear, and there was a little bitty fella that come with them. More apples. All right. He was cutting and saving the seeds and throwing them the apples, and those bears, after a few apples, they kind of nodded their head and they went off. Well, Johnny thought he'd seen the last of them, when all of a sudden, all around him, he heard growls and snorts. Here came every bear that must have lived on the mountain. He was a little afraid he wasn't going to have enough apples. He tossed apples and tossed apples and tossed apples. But for some reason, his bag never seemed to grow empty until all of those bears began to yawn and stretch in the sunlight. They were so happy, Johnny Appleseed could actually reach out and kind of scratch under their chin, and they almost purred. Then those bears went to sleep. Johnny, he gathered up his stuff and he thought, I'm always planting trees for people. Who's going to feed these bears the next years? Right then and there, he decided he was going to plant apple seeds to grow apple trees for the bears. And sure enough, just as I told you, up in the North Appalachian Mountains, you'll find that apple orchard. Wild apple orchard, but every fall, the bears come from all over that mountain and still enjoy that gift that Johnny left them. Apples to eat and those trees to rub against. And that's the story of Johnny and the bears. I hope you enjoyed my stories today about the bears, and I hope you're enjoying reading this summer. If you haven't joined the Summer Reading Club, I don't think it's too late. Read, have fun, imagine your story. I'll see you next time. Have a great summer. Goodbye, friends.